Donald Trump is facing the FIFA World Cup disaster he feared the most. The World Cup is just a few weeks away, and each crisis is growing and growing, and each crisis seems to be worse than the next. Donald Trump appointed Rudy Giuliani's kid, Andrew Giuliani, to lead the World Cup in the United States. I'm sure that's going to work out well, and each headline from the past week or so is worse than the next. Whether it is the foreign boycott of FIFA, which could cost the United States upwards of $30 billion that FIFA promised. FIFA said that all of these cities that host these World Cup games were going to get rich. We're going to get so rich. In fact, the cities are seeing economic loss right now, and they are also launching investigations into FIFA's dynamic pricing, the so-called dynamic pricing that has resulted in fans being unable to afford the games. And it seems that there's massive price manipulation taking place, whether it is ICE having a presence across the United States at FIFA matches, and Mark Wayne Mullen, Donald Trump's new Department of Homeland Security Secretary, bragging that ICE is going to be there. We're going to be looking into the behavior of foreign nationals coming into our country. We see people here in the United States boycotting ICE. And one of the reasons why we see so many people internationally boycotting FIFA, at least in the United States, is because of this ICE presence. But here was Mark Wayne Mullen, Donald Trump's new Department of Homeland Security Secretary, while he's not torturing migrants and torturing Americans, he's out there making videos like this, talking about ICE being in the World Cup. Can y'all just leave everybody alone? Why are you sending ICE to the World Cup? Here's what he had to say, though. Play this clip.
Now, what a lot of people don't think about when they start talking about World Cup is what about the counterfeit products that come in or the human trafficking? When you have crowds this big, criminal activities follow. Well, ICE and HSI are going to be out there every day fighting against the counterfeit tickets, human trafficking, drug smuggling, counterfeit products. They're going to be working hand in hand with CBP along the way. Now, I know there's a lot of acronyms there. So on the bottom of the screen, we're going to tell you what each one of them meant.
And as I mentioned, each crisis getting worse than the next. We also see that states are launching investigations into potential criminality by FIFA and fraud by FIFA in manipulating prices, creating artificial demand where there isn't demand because there's this boycott, fabricating the demand to jack up the prices. You have New York Attorney General Letitia James, for example, launching an investigation into FIFA. The New Jersey Attorney General launching an investigation into FIFA, alleging that the International Football Association is faking the scarcity of the tickets to set impossibly high prices. In other words, there's no demand, that the demand for these tickets isn't as high as FIFA's claiming it to be, and FIFA's claiming it to be so high so they can charge exorbitant prices. This is what New York Attorney General Letitia James had to say. Play this clip.
So exactly what information are you seeking from FIFA?
So first, let me just tell you that this is the most expensive World Cup game in the history of World Cups. And so many fans are really excited that the World Cup is coming to this region. But unfortunately, FIFA has engaged in this ticketing scheme and these high-priced tickets. And so we issued subpoena, along with the Attorney General of New Jersey. And we are seeking information with regards to the pricing, the ticketing, and the marketing that they are engaging in, because they are accountable, obviously, to consumers. And I have a responsibility and a duty to protect consumers. And we have been reviewing media accounts, which indicate that from October 25th to November 26th, FIFA has raised the price of tickets for 90 of its 104 games, hit their matches, to almost 34%. And the final game at Giant Stadium has increased to the tune of where ticket prices are at $4,000. And I've heard from consumers, and I've read media reports, and so it was it's incumbent upon me to look into this and to investigate. And so we issued subpoenas to get some answers.
And then there is the Ebola outbreak right now in Africa, where you have a real dire situation taking place in Congo. And FIFA is now saying that if you're in Congo, you can't come to FIFA. So, and this is the first time the Leopards, the Congo football team, is going to be in the World Cup since like 1974. And the Congolese fans were going to come to the United States. The Trump regime has now banned them from the United States. And they're like, could we get a refund? And FIFA's not like, sure, you can get a refund. FIFA's like, we will determine it in due course. Seriously, that's what Gianni Infantino said. We'll determine whether you get a refund in due course. So as the Trump regime shut down all of its public health apparatus, shut down its CDC, shut down all of the detection of Ebola, and shut down USAID, and now there is an outbreak of Ebola in Congo. We also see it in Uganda. And I think they're downplaying their numbers. There's over 1,000 cases, getting close to 300 deaths. What else? You have the United States not allowing anybody from like the Congo who may have been in contact with Ebola or contracted from coming back to the United States. The Trump regime is now wanting to set up quarantine facilities in Kenya to send Americans to Kenya to be treated, where we've apparently trained volunteers for 3 days, a 3-day volunteer training. And these are the people who are going to go to Kenya to treat Americans who get Ebola or who have Ebola from Congo. You know, we had like doctors, we had a whole public health apparatus to actually deal with Ebola outbreaks. All of this stuff was known. All of this stuff was planned for in advance. The Trump regime ripped to shreds America's public health. Oh, and by the way, in Kenya, there were lawsuits filed by Kenyans saying, no, we don't want U.S. quarantine facilities in Kenya. Why are you doing this in Kenya? And so the U.S. has been blocked for that. But now they're not allowing the Congo fans to show up in the United States. And now you'll have, even though there's a big boycott of FIFA, a huge amount of people still internationally and from Africa and other places will be heading into the United States. So now it seems like this could be a mass spread event potentially, and Andrew Giuliani and the Trump regime are like, don't worry, it's going to be okay. You have nothing to worry about. Yeah, we've heard this story before. It seems that with all these people coming here and a breakdown of our public health system, I don't know, it maybe is something to be a bit worried about right now, or we should at least focus on it and take it seriously and not ignore it. No, I'm going to bring in Nina Schwalbe. Nina Schwalbe, public health expert, professor over at Georgetown University, my alma mater. She's also running for Congress. I want to talk to her about this public health situation because I want to also know how this is going to impact FIFA. How's this going to impact what's going down there? You don't want to miss this conversation with Nina Schwalbe. This is the kind of conversation that needs to be being had right now. Let's bring in my interview with Nina Schwalbe. Nina Schwalbe, public health expert. She's running for Congress as well in New York's 12th Congressional District. Nina, good to see you. You devoted your life to public health policy. You're on the faculty at Georgetown, my alma mater, where I went to law school. This public health crisis is not getting enough attention right now that we're experiencing as a result of the Trump regime's policies, with all of the distractions that Donald Trump puts out there every day, and also the catastrophic harm he's causing that people feel on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes public health is neglected, but as we saw with COVID, as we see right now with the spreading of measles, as we see with spreading of a lot of other contagions that previously we never even expect are issues. These are issues that are life-threatening. And now one of the things that we've been talking about is that with this Ebola outbreak taking place in the Congo, we don't have staff to deal with it. So now the CDC, which has been gutted, is saying, well, we need volunteers. Anybody want to volunteer at the airports? And I've seen all these public health experts say, for decades, we built a structure to deal exactly with this. We had people in the region to deal exactly with this. So the fact that you're sending emails, hey, anybody wants to help, is deeply, deeply distressing, and that doesn't give it justice. But as a public health expert, as someone who's modeled these things and has planned for them, now we're seeing what happens when Doge destroys it. And by the way, no offense, Nina, people may think what you do or what you did was boring because you wouldn't want to be glamorous about it. You wouldn't be, hey, everybody, look, it's public health policy. But when we need people like you, we need people like you. And now we're in one of these events where we're not getting accurate information. This Ebola is spreading rapidly there. And we're getting these, statements that, again, make no sense. It's like deja vu. Break it down, Nina, for us.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. I mean, the Trump administration completely destroyed our public health infrastructure, and that sounds like jargon, but what it means is we don't have people counting who's getting sick. We don't have staff. Our embassies aren't staffed to help countries on the ground deal with outbreaks when they happen. We're not sending the equipment that's needed to diagnose it. Those are tests that previously the U.S. government had provided to people, and we've just let it all flail. We just cut it like it was unnecessary. The idea that we're asking for volunteers to do a basic function of government, it's like it's not a school picnic. This is a real crisis. So there's a huge outbreak in DRC, which has spread to its neighboring country, Uganda. It's a complicated region. There's a lot of unrest there. It's a big mining region, so there's a lot of transient people who come in and out. And it's been going on for weeks. And why did it go undetected for weeks? Well, in part because not only did we destroy our own public health system, but we also pulled out of everybody else's. We pulled out of the WHO. Donald Trump pulled out of the WHO on day one, and they're the line of first defense, because when somebody has an infectious disease, they pick up the phone and they call WHO. Well, there have to be people at WHO to answer the phone, and we haven't even paid our bills there. And then we come here, which is our CDC used to be in what was called the Situation Room. And that's actually kind of like a movie where people sit in a room and they get real-time data and they decide what to do with it. And our CDC is MIA, nowhere to be found. I mean, it is incredible how we let this all drop. And as you said as well, when public health is working, nobody really knows what you do. Like at dinner, at Thanksgiving, it's not a big topic of conversation. But when it's broken, let me tell you, everybody knows what you're doing. And right now we have no system in place. I mean, one of the first signs of that was, as you mentioned, the measles outbreak. We have measles outbreaks in over 30 states. That's crazy. This is a disease that we eliminated years ago, and now it's back with a vengeance. And when you have measles, it's kind of a flashing red warning sign that your systems are failing. And now we're seeing those systems fail. It's crazy. I also don't know if you follow our hantavirus expert. Did you follow that?
Talk to us about it.
Yeah, our hantavirus expert at Health and Human Services reporting to RFK Jr. The guy is an erectile dysfunction expert. Like that was his thing before he became our hantavirus expert. He worked on he had a penile podcast. So we're in deep trouble. Our systems are failing, and these are the systems that keep us and our democracy safe.
You raise a great issue there with the penile injection person, because that to people who are looking for something that's flashy or controversial or whatever, you've got penile guy and he's out there talking about all of these, newfangled things and selling you the products and this and that. And on the other side, you've got people talking about systems and organization, and we need to do a meeting, and let's analyze the data, and let's go through a graph, and let's go through a spreadsheet. And I think what I fear, although I think it's manifested, so, my fear is an irrelevant thing, is that the work in slandering bureaucracy, which, by the way, bureaucracy has its issues. Let's be clear. It's not like I should be hoisting up the bureaucracy, but in demeaning the idea that there's a group of experts put their heads down and do the work, and hoisting up the Dr. Oz and the Dr. Phils and the penile expert. And it seems like everyone they want to be the next Surgeon General is always someone who's out there doing the podcast and the this and the that. It's like, I do a podcast. I shouldn't be the Surgeon General. I'm not trying to be the Attorney General. I'm going to stick in this lane. This is my thing. But that's a broader issue, though, that I think that you tap into. And it's a tough one for people like you who are the experts to break into that world.
Yeah, not only are we experts, but we've run big programs. And that's a big difference, I think, on why we need more people in government who've run big government programs, because passing the law is just the first thing. But then you got to watch where the dollars flow, and you got to make sure that those dollars are getting where they need to go and delivering results. So a year and a half ago, they fired 200,000 of my peers, and all of those people provide basic public services. And tens of millions of people here and around the world lost access to life-saving care, and Congress was sitting around kind of watching, and the writing was on the wall that we were in deep trouble. So this should be no surprise to anyone. And I'm in New York City, and we have FIFA coming, and that's 1 million people coming in, and we're calling on volunteers to staff our airports. And there's also something which is totally unconscionable, which you probably followed, which is we're not letting American citizens who might be ill back into our country. This is a huge stretch to say that, because like Trump is using border control policy, and he's mixing that with public health priorities. So people suspected they're trying to set up this treatment site in Kenya and send American citizens to that site instead of letting them to come home, where they have family, where they have friends, where we have the best healthcare in the world that they've paid into. So Trump's using this as an excuse to deny people the right to come home. That also is getting precious little attention.
Right. But it's that treatment there, which doesn't address the actual public health outcomes. But then it's like, but we're just going to but because the FIFA is so important, and this is Donald Trump's big thing, we're going to just, we now don't have the resources to deal with 1 million people coming in more. That should be the thing that we go, whoa, 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 whoa. How are we going to be dealing with this influx of people? Because even though Donald Trump likes to believe America first means we don't need to worry about the rest of the world, except when he wants to intervene and invade everybody or whatever. But diseases, the reason why USAID, CDC, public health is international is ultimately because that also is America first, because these diseases that are there, they're going to get here. So if we want to protect ourselves here, we got to stop them there. And it's wild that that's not reflected right now.
Yeah, and the lack of public health expertise in Congress isn't a gap; it's a crisis. And we need to fill that gap. Because this is a big spend, and this is about, as you just said, this is about American security. Diseases cross borders, they cross state borders. States can't do it alone either, because diseases cross borders. We need a central command and control, which is watching this and keeping us safe and protected.
Nina, you're running for New York's 12th Congressional District, and you're running with your background on systems. And your campaign is, I run and operate big systems. We need somebody who can get into the weeds, and I'm here to solve problems. I'm the problems. I mean, that's been the general theme, I think, of your campaign. It's of course a very kind of crowded primary. We've interviewed some of the other candidates as well, and so before we go, talk to us about that. I wanted to establish your bona fides in systems, because that's really, that's really the pitch. I don't mean to simplify a complex campaign into that, but I think you're out there saying, I'm the systems person, and here's how we solve these things using a technical framework.
Yeah, and systems means that it's not a whack-a-mole approach. So, when you save a kid from one disease, you have to make sure they don't die of another, and that's basically a systems approach. If you provide people with housing, you have to make sure that they have healthcare too. That's a systems approach. So it means you're thinking bigger than the widget, and you're thinking also in advance, and you're thinking about how to have a long-term impact that improve people's lives. I ran the Biden administration's $7 billion COVID-19 global vaccine distribution program, and we distributed over 500 million vaccines in really a couple of months. And a systems thinker comes in and says, like, well, when I came into that in the beginning, and I was a special government employee, which is like Mr. Musk, so came in very quickly. My first day at work, I was like, okay, great, we got the vaccines, but we didn't have any syringes. And figuring out how to solve big problems like that, how do you get 500 million syringes, is something that's the kind of thing we need to do in government. We have big programs that aren't delivering, and sometimes there are pretty simple solutions to figure that out. So having somebody new to this who asks questions, who's trained to ask questions, who's trained not to take no for an answer, but to dig down relentlessly to figure out what is the solution to the problem, that's what I bring.
Where can people learn more, Nina, about the campaign website? Where can they find out more?
Yeah, at Nina for www at Nina for NYC, and we're also on Instagram at Nina for NYC, and we're staffed by volunteers. We have a huge field operation. We're knocking on tens of thousands of doors, but we're not backed by a billionaire. We're not a legacy Democrat. I'm not a celebrity. You probably haven't seen me before, but we're backed by real people. And so come to our campaign, learn about us, donate to us, volunteer with us. We will really be the ones that answer your messages. If you get a text message, it's actually from me.
Nina Schwalbe, thanks for joining us. We appreciate the work that you're doing. And, I think it's very important. It's why I also wanted to have you on here. I'm a systems guy also, and at my core, it's showing graphs and charts, and the expression is play the clip, because I want people to capture the data. And I think so much in the debate, it's this person yelling at this. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, just read the data. I come in with an opinion, sure, but it's driven by data and not by just winging it. And I appreciate you doing that too.
All right. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity, and looking forward to it. All right.
And you're from Georgetown also. So hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million. Thanks, everybody.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.